Well, hey everybody, my name is Johnny. I'm a grateful believer. I struggle with alcoholism and codependency, and with me is...
Hi, my name is Jenny, and I'm a believer who struggles with codependency and adult child and family dysfunction.
Welcome to Celebrate Recovery. Before we get into tonight's lesson, we're going to read The Road to Recovery, the 8 principles based on the Beatitudes. And remember, we keep talking about this every week, but the power to change is not found in the Beatitudes. The power to change is found in a relationship with Jesus Christ. The Beatitudes are just a way for us to grow closer to Him, and it's a step-by-step process that helps us systematically grow. So, principle 1, realize I'm not God. I admit that I am powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. Happy are those who know they're spiritually poor, Matthew 5:3.
Principle number 2, earnestly believe that God exists, that I matter to Him, and that He has the power to help me recover. Happy are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, Matthew 5:4.
Principle 3, consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. Happy are the meek, Matthew 5:5.
Principle number 4, openly examine and confess my faults to myself, to God, and to someone I trust. Happy are the pure in heart, Matthew 5:8.
Principle 5, voluntarily submit to every change God wants to make in my life and humbly ask Him to remove my character defects. Happy are those whose greatest desire is to do what God requires, Matthew 5:6.
Principle number 6, evaluate all my relationships, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and make amends for harm I've done to others, except when to do so would harm them or others. Happy are the merciful, Matthew 5:7, and happy are the peacemakers, Matthew 5:9.
Principle 7, reserve a daily time with God for self-examination, Bible reading, and prayer in order to know God and His will for my life and to gain the power to follow His will.
And then principle number 8, yield myself to God to be used to bring this good news to others, both by my example and by my words. Happy are those who are persecuted because they do what God requires, Matthew 5:10.
Thanks. She'll be back later to lead us through the Serenity Prayer. And if you've been joining us for the last few weeks, you know that we've been going through the Celebrate Recovery lessons here on Facebook and YouTube. And we've been doing them live. We've been doing them on Facebook Live. And if you've been watching the last couple weeks, you know that we've had lots of issues with technology, whether it's a microphone or the video or lighting or different things like that. And so tonight is the first lesson that I'm doing pre-recorded, and I wanted to do that because I get so focused on all the tech stuff that I kind of lose track on what I'm really supposed to be doing, which is teaching these lessons. And so I do want to let you know that I'm going to do them one time through. I'm not going to edit or cut away or anything like that, and so I try to make it feel as live as possible. So if I make a mistake, I make a mistake, but I am going to try to put some of the Bible verses and fill-ins down here. Now, if that doesn't show up, it means that I couldn't figure it out, so I'm going to do my best. I am not, I love technology and I love gadgets, but I'm not the most technological advanced person in the world, so I'm going to do my best. But tonight we're going to move on to Principle 4. Principle 4 says, openly examine and confess my faults to myself, to God, and someone I trust. Happy are the pure in heart, Matthew 5:8. Step 4 of the Christ-centered 12 steps says this, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Lamentations 3:40 says, let us examine our ways and test them, and then let us return to the Lord. Now, one thing that we need to talk about here is when we get to Principle 4 is we just got to get the elephant in the room out in the open. A lot of people talk about Principle 4 being really hard. And there are some hard things that we do here in Principle 4. That's true. But that being said, just because there are hard things doesn't mean it's impossible. In fact, just because there are hard things doesn't mean that we should quit. What I want to encourage you to do is to fight through some of these hard times. And what I'm going to do right now, because like I said, I'm doing this like almost like it's live, I'm going to make sure the microphone's on. It was on. Just wanted to make sure. I started to panic, thought it might not be on, so it is. We're good to go. That's the one thing. I don't have any comments. Usually I have Facebook comments telling me they can't hear me or they can hear me or whatever it is, so just gonna have to go with it, but it's on. But the road to recovery is not meant to be walked alone. Here at Principle 4, we learn that. So you can actually do the first 3 principles on your own. You can come to God and you can step out of denial. You can change your power for His power. You can even come to a relationship with Jesus, all just between you and God. And maybe you've been watching these videos here on Facebook or YouTube, and you've been doing it solo. And I want to encourage you because you can't continue that way. The road to recovery is not meant to be walked alone. It's supposed to be done with other people. In fact, you need a couple of relationships. You need a relationship with God, that's first and foremost. You need a relationship with other people in your life. And we're going to talk about a really important relationship, and that's a relationship with a sponsor and accountability partners. Principle 4 says that we openly examine and confess my faults to myself, to God, and then someone that we trust. We can't do that if we're not in a relationship with other people. Proverbs 15:14 says, a wise person is hungry for the truth while a fool feeds on trash. And one of the things that helps us become wise is to have a lot of people around us who can tell us the truth. But a lot of us feel like we have a lot of burdens in our lives, or maybe even a lot of trash in our lives, and we don't want to carry it alone. You and I each need a genuine mentor. In recovery terms, we would call that a sponsor, someone who can walk alongside us, who can guide us, who can help us when we need it. So tonight we're going to answer a few questions. Number one, why do I need a sponsor or accountability partner? Number two, what are the qualities of a sponsor? 3, what does a sponsor do? Number 4, how do I find a sponsor or accountability partner? And 5, what's the difference between a sponsor and an accountability partner? Now, I have a sponsor in recovery. His name is Mac. Many of you know him. And no, you can't have him. He's mine. and he is somebody who helps me as I walk the road to recovery. He keeps me in check. See, for many of us, when we come to recovery, we're going to do one of two things. This isn't all of us, it's a generalization, but many of us are going to try to go too fast, too quickly, and some of us are going to lag behind and go too slow. I'm reminded of a story when a few years ago, my brother-in-law called me and said, hey, let's do a half marathon together. Now, I'm not a runner, but I said, sure, let's do that. And so he sent me a running program. It's a day 1, run a mile, day 2, off, day 3, run a mile, and so on. If you've ever run, you've had a program like this. And after the 3rd or 4th time I got out and ran for a mile, and it took me 10 to 15 minutes, remember I wasn't a runner, I kind of was like, that doesn't feel like a workout. Maybe this workout is designed for people who aren't as talented and as gifted as I am. And so I quickly threw that program away, and I began running many, many more miles. If the program said run a mile, I ran 3. And eventually I didn't put my shoes on if I wasn't going to run more than or less than 5 miles. One day I decided I was going to run the longest I was going to run. It was going to be a 9-mile run, furthest I'd ever gone up until that point. And I went out on this run, and the cool thing is there's a bike or a jogging path that you didn't have to stop at any lights or any crosswalks. And so I got out and I went on a run. And a few miles in, I began to feel some pain in my knee. But I've been reading books on running, and it said run through the pain. So I did. I ran through the pain. But it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then a few minutes later, my other leg, the ball of my foot started to hurt. But I was getting very close to the finish line. I was about a 1/4 of a mile away, and I had to stop at the first crosswalk. And I did that thing runners do where you kind of keep running, and I checked my pulse. I don't know what I was checking for, but I did it because I saw runners do it. And then I took a step off the curb, and my knee locked up. In fact, it buckled and then locked. And then I stepped on my other foot, and pain shot up through the ball of my foot out of the top of my head. And I had to do this weird hobble thing for the last 1/4 of the mile till I got to my wife. Jenny looked at me and she said, when she finished laughing, she said, "You're going to the doctor." And I said, no, I'm fine. But an hour later, I was in the doctor's office. Long story short, he said, you can't run. You can't finish the half marathon. You ran too far, too fast. You weren't in shape, and you overdid it. See, in 6 weeks, I'd gone from not running anything to running 120 miles. During the course of our conversation, he was asking me, how did I let this happen? And I said, well, maybe I should tell you I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I wish I was making this up, but he took the notes, crumbled them up, threw them over his shoulder, and said, we have to start all the way over with you. Why do I tell you that story? One, to laugh at me? Well, maybe. But really to say, had I followed the program, and maybe instead of not just following the program, but maybe instead of running on my own, if my brother-in-law and I had run together, when I wanted to push it a little bit, he would have said, hey, let's stick to the program. And maybe I was lagging a little bit, and I said, I'm not really feel like running today. He would have said, it doesn't matter. The program says run. See, I would have had somebody to go alongside with me, and I don't know, but I may even still be running today because, spoiler alert, I hate running, and I haven't ran since. But if I had somebody with me, maybe I'd still be running today. See, a sponsor and accountability partners are going to help you stay on the course. They're going to help you stay on the path. They're going to help you stick to the program, whether you want to speed up or whether you want to slow down and lag behind. So why do each of us need a sponsor and accountability partners? And by the way, we're looking for one sponsor, but we should have many accountability partners. Now, one thing I want to let you know right away is that each of us, when we look for a sponsor, our sponsor should be the same gender as ourselves. So man to man, woman to woman. And in fact, same thing with accountability partners. Now, does that mean you can't have relationships with people of the opposite gender who can help you? Of course not. You can have tons of relationships. And in fact, Jenny, I would consider one of my accountability partners, but she's not my only accountability partner, because there may be things I need to talk about how I'm handling something in our marriage, and it's safer or it's better or I might get even more true responses from somebody outside. And so we want to look for that. So I'm going to talk about that later, but I just want to make sure that we get that out in the open now. So why do I need a sponsor? Well, it's biblical. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12 says, 2 are better off than one, because together they can work more effectively. If one falls down, the other can help him up. But if someone is alone, there's no one to help him. 2 men can resist an attack that would defeat one man alone. And Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Over and over again in Scripture, we are told to not do this alone. Jesus didn't walk the earth alone. He had followers, he had 12 disciples, and he had 3 people on the inner circle, Peter, James, and John. We are required to have relationships, and having people to go along with us is biblical. The next reason is having a sponsor or accountability partners is a key part of your recovery program. Like I said, having somebody in step with us, having alongside us, helping us on the road to recovery is a huge part of this program. They're going to help us stay out of denial. Now, you may think that coming out of denial is a one-time thing, but it really isn't. If you've been in recovery for a long time, you know how quickly denial can rear its ugly head. A sponsor can help us when we start to slip back. They can help us see things as they really are, not how we think they are. In fact, they can encourage us. See, you may not see much of your growth as you go into recovery. You may not see it happening on a day-to-day basis, but your sponsor, your accountability partners, they can point out that growth, just like they can point out areas of weakness in your life. The third reason is that having a sponsor or accountability partner is the best guard against relapse. Remember, in recovery, we are looking for life change. We are looking to go away from the old ways and start new ways. And by providing feedback and by helping us in our recovery, a sponsor, accountability partners can help us see dysfunctional patterns. They can help us see self-defeating patterns that begin to develop in our lives. They can say, that seems like the old you peeking back up. Or what do you mean you don't think anybody cares about you? Or whatever those things are. And they can confront us with the truth in love when we begin slipping back into our old ways. Ecclesiastes 7:5 says that it's better to be criticized by a wise man than be praised by a fool. Now, I have to be honest with you, I don't love being criticized. But when my sponsor or my accountability partners come to me in love and they point out an area of weakness, I know I'm going to be better on the other side of that confrontation. But most of us would rather be praised than criticized. Most of us would rather be ruined by fools than saved by people who are wise. So having a sponsor, each one of us needs it. But how do we find what are the qualities of a sponsor? Not everybody you meet in recovery should be one of your sponsors. Proverbs 20 verse 5 says this, though good advice lies deep within a counselor's heart, a wise man will draw it out. So you may have a lot of people around you who are wise, but it's up to us to draw out that wisdom. So when selecting a sponsor, look for the following qualities. Now I'm going to use he or she interchangeably. So if you're a man, remember we want to look for a male sponsor. Women, we want to find another woman to be our sponsor and accountability partner. So first, does his walk match his talk? Are they living out the 8 principles? Now, what I mean is we all know people who have a good game, they talk a good game, but they're not actually living out the principles or the recovery truths or even a Christian lifestyle. We want somebody who is actually attending recovery, who's working through their program, not somebody who just knows the lingo. We want to make sure that there's somebody whose life is worthy of imitation. In fact, that's one thing as you begin to think of who you will ask to be your sponsor. Begin thinking of the people in the circles that you share in and go, that's somebody I'd like to be like. That's a good beginning. Number 2, do they have a growing relationship with Jesus Christ? Do you see the characteristics of Jesus Christ in their lives? A trait that we should all be looking for is if we are followers of Christ, our sponsors should also be followers of Christ. Why? Because if they're not, we may make decisions based on different things. So we want somebody who's going to walk the talk that we walk, the walk that we walk. We want somebody who's going to live the life that we are trying to live. Number 3, do they express the desire to help others on the road to recovery? Not fix others, but help others. We're not looking, our sponsor isn't somebody who is fixing us. And in fact, on both sides of the equation, both those of you who are looking for a sponsor and those of you who are sponsoring other people, well, if you're looking for a sponsor, don't look for somebody to fix you. And if you're a sponsor, don't try to fix other people. It's one of our guidelines that we're here to support one another, not fix one another. But in a sponsor-sponsee relationship, we can look at somebody and want them to be our savior. Jesus is our savior. Jesus is the one who helps us and fixes us, to use that language. Other people can't do it. We need somebody who has a desire to help other people, but isn't looking to help those people. Who isn't just there to say, I would like for all of you to come to me and I'll fix you and make you better. Number 4, do they show compassion, care, and hope, but not pity? We need somebody who cares about us, but doesn't look down on us. Somebody who doesn't judge us. Not somebody who feels sorry for us, but somebody who is sensitive to our pain. My pastor, Pastor Rick Warren, says, people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. The next quality is, are they a good listener? Is the person you're thinking of, or is the sponsor you're looking for, is it somebody that you feel like they're honestly listening to what you have to say? Or are they just waiting for their turn to talk? Are they going to just get you with a recovery platitude and a cliche? Or are they going to listen to you first and then respond out of that? Is this person strong enough to confront your denial or procrastination? Remember, we talked about this. If you're going too fast or too slow, your sponsor needs to be somebody who's strong enough to say, hey, come on, especially here at Principle 4. Well, next week, we're going to talk about beginning a moral inventory. And what we need is somebody in our lives who can say, hey, how come you haven't started yet? Why are you dragging your feet on this? It's time to get going. We need somebody who's strong enough and who cares enough about us to challenge us. Now, again, I believe this should be done in a loving way. But we need somebody who's got the courage to step into our lives and say, hey, I think you're blowing it here. Let's work on that together. Number 7, do they offer suggestions? Sometimes we need people to help us and help us see things from another point of view. This is especially true in relationships. Sometimes we need somebody who's outside of the relationship who can come in and say, I don't think that's what they meant. Or they can say, did you see your part in that? Have you tried to respond this way? They can take an objective view and offer suggestions. Now, this is different than giving orders, and it's different than fixing, right? This is saying, I want to help you, and so let's grow together. Can they share their own current struggles with other people, or are they perfect and everybody else just needs to get fixed? Now, what's the role of a sponsor? Let me give you 6 things that your sponsor can do. Number 1, they can be there to discuss issues in detail that are too personal or that would take too much time in a meeting. One of our guidelines is that we have 3 to 5 minutes to share. And for many of us, that doesn't feel like enough time. 3 to 5 minutes just seems like the beginning of the sharing. And what a sponsor can do is they can sit down with us one-on-one and allow us to really deeply share through what's going on in our lives. A step study or an open share group isn't actually designed for one person to take that much time out of the group. It's actually designed for many of us to begin to have that sharing opportunity. But a sponsor, an accountability partner, can sit down with you one-on-one and spend a lot of time with you. And in fact, when we get further on in the recovery process, we're not just going to complete a moral inventory, we're going to share that with someone else. You don't want to do that in your group. That would take way too much time, and it's actually too many people to hear it. We want to do that one-on-one with one other person, and that's where your sponsor can step in. There's somebody who can help you as you go through this, and they can spend time listening to you and offering their recovery to help you with that. Number 2, they're available in times of crisis or potential relapse. Your sponsor needs to be somebody who's available, who can pick up the phone. They need to be somebody that whatever your hurt, hang up, or habit is, that they say to you, call me before you log on to that website, take a drink, act out, spend that money, purge, whatever the issue is. Now, for some of us, when our issues are things like codependency, it may be a little trickier to figure out when that crisis is about to begin. So your sponsor needs somebody who's available to walk you through things, who can help you go through that. I always tell people your sponsor needs to be the person that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning. By the way, this is why I'm not sponsoring anybody right now. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I don't have the bandwidth to be available that way. And I don't want to hurt other people by telling them that I can and then not have that bandwidth. And so you need somebody that you can call. Remember, Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, 2 men can resist an attack that would defeat 1 man alone. The third thing is they serve as a sounding board by providing an objective point of view. We just talked about this. But you want somebody you can talk to who can look at a situation from the outside, not take sides, not just always tell you you're right or they're wrong, not just tell you how great you are and how bad the world is, but they can take an objective point of view. It can help you as you go through some of the things, especially when we get to making amends and offering forgiveness and so on. The fourth thing is they're there to encourage you to work the principles at your own speed. Remember, they're not dictators. They're not going to command that you speed up or slow down, but they're going to help you figure out when you do need to slow down and when you need to speed up. It's tempting to look around people and go, they're getting recovery faster than I am, and so I should do this faster, when really you and God are going to be working on this together at your speed. This isn't a race. The one thing I'm a little nervous about doing these lessons on Facebook and YouTube every week is that you're going to think it should be a faster process than it should. Remember, usually we'd have in between weeks, we'd be having testimonies. And so there'd be a week in between each lesson. And so if you've been with us every week and you're thinking, man, I don't feel like I'm ready for this step yet, that's okay. Slow down. You're not in any hurry. But if you've been with us for a while and you have never completed the 4th step, it may be time for you to speed up. How will you know? Have a sponsor or accountability partners that can help you work through that. The 5th thing is they're going to model the lifestyle that results from working the 8 principles. You want somebody who has obtained a level of sobriety. Not that they're perfect, not that they're fixed, but they've got some sobriety. I would suggest for a sponsor, they have at least a year of sobriety. Accountability partners, that's going to be different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you want to see people who are living out recovery, that they're not just talking about it, they're actually living it out. And then last, a sponsor can resign or be fired. These aren't lifetime commitments. And so if you ask somebody to be your sponsor, and after a few weeks, it doesn't feel like a great fit, not because they're hard, not because they're challenging you, but because it just feels like maybe they're not available, or maybe you're not connecting, or maybe you meet somebody that you feel would be better to walk you on the road to recovery, that's fine. They're not permanent relationships. So how do you find a sponsor or accountability partner? Now, for all of us, it's our responsibility to find our own sponsors and accountability partners. In fact, if you're a ministry leader at a Celebrate Recovery and you're trying to dictate who can and can't be sponsors, I want to encourage you to just allow everybody to find his or her own sponsor. Now, there's some guidelines I'm going to walk you through, but it's up to each of us. First and foremost, like I said earlier, the person must be the same gender as yourself. I don't really need to expand on this one. I think that's pretty straightforward. Number 2, can you relate to the person's story? If you're choosing someone to be your sponsor, is it someone who you relate to? Is it someone, do they meet the qualities of a good sponsor? And are they somebody that you like, that you want to be around? The best way to do it is to hang out with us. Invest time in your recovery. Come to group. Now, I know right now it's hard, because maybe your local Celebrate Recovery isn't meeting in person. That's why I want to encourage you to find a CRCR, a Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response Group, that you can join in the meantime and begin that conversation. If you're brand new to recovery, that's all you may even know of recovery is the Celebrate Recovery Crisis Response Groups. It's possible for you to find a sponsor, but you have to spend time with us. When Celebrate Recoveries begin to open again, I want to encourage you to come to the fellowship events if your local Celebrate Recovery has them. Barbecue, Solid Rock Cafe, park hangouts, whatever they are. Get to know each other and spend time with one another. Now, if you ask someone to be your sponsor accountability partner and they say no, don't take it personally. Don't get offended. They may not be in a place where they feel confident to sponsor someone. They may not have the time, or they may already be sponsoring too many people. Too many people, Johnny, can you sponsor too many people? Yes, I believe that you can. In fact, I think lots of you are. because it's hard to say no when someone asks you to be their sponsor. But I think 2 or 3 is about the maximum amount of people any of us should be sponsoring at a time. Now, before you flame me in the comments and tell me what an idiot I am, that's just my suggestion. You can take it or leave it. But somebody's plate may be too full. They may not be able to help you right now. Don't take that personally. What I would do is say, hey, I understand, thanks for being honest with me, but do you know anyone who could be my sponsor, or can you connect me with anyone? Usually they will. They may even be somebody who steps in as a temporary sponsor to help you as you begin, but they may not be somebody who can walk you through the long term. Most importantly, ask God to lead you to the sponsor or accountability partners of His choosing. I think this is just such an important step. In closing, what's the difference between a sponsor and accountability partner? Well, a sponsor is somebody who should have completed the Celebrate Recovery 12 steps or 8 principles and completed a step study. Now, is that written in stone? No, but it's a good piece of advice. If I were starting a program, I would want somebody who has been a part of that program. I don't believe that any of us graduate from Celebrate Recovery, but we have people who are ahead of us in recovery. And having completed the 8 steps the 8 principles and the 12 steps, going through a step study means that they've done all the parts of recovery that you're going to be asked to do as you join us in Celebrate Recovery. There's somebody who is ahead of you. Think of them as a coach. Now, accountability partners can be ahead of you, they can be right next to you, or they can even be behind you in recovery. In fact, they don't even have to be in Celebrate Recovery. I've got lots of people who are my accountability partners and they don't even know it. They just think we're friends, but I use them as accountability partners. They're people who encourage me and who keep me accountable, who make sure I'm doing what I say I do. You want one sponsor, but many accountability partners. So in the analogy, if your sponsor is the coach, the accountability partners are your teammates. They're going to help you and keep you strong. Now, remember, we don't want to do recovery alone. And I know I went through a lot of this really quickly. I was trying to get this done in a quicker amount of time tonight. And so this may be something you want to go back and rewatch. But we also cover this, how to find a sponsor and all of these things in our Celebrate Recovery step study. So if you haven't joined a CRCR step study yet, I want to encourage you to go to celebraterecovery.com, click on Find a Group, and look for groups in your area that are providing online step studies, if your church isn't. If you haven't joined us yet at Celebrate Recovery, by the way, that's a great step to get started, is go to celebraterecovery.com and look for CRs in your area. Reach out, ask them if they're available to meet in person or online right now, and then begin that process of getting connected. You're not meant to do this alone. And so we go through that in a step study. We go through those sponsor qualities. And in fact, in the Journey Continues, which is sort of the second round of step studies that we have available, we talk about how you can become a good sponsor. So there are lots more resources available to you there. So I want to encourage you, don't go through this alone. Find a sponsor, find accountability partners, people that can walk alongside you, who can hold you up, and who can guide you and love you and keep you accountable as you walk the road to recovery. I'm gonna pray, and then Jenny's gonna come in and lead us to the Serenity Prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for this technology that allows us to meet. God, I pray that every one of us in recovery will choose to not do this alone, but look for important relationships, sponsors and accountability partners, people who can hold us up, who can support us, and who can walk this road to recovery with us together. Lord, thank you for this time, and thank you for these people that have joined us tonight. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, Jenny, why don't you come on in and lead us to Serenity Prayer.
All right. God, grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, share this on your page and so other people can find it. And we're just so glad to be with you. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.